I just like to say one thing. I totally agree with what you're saying, Rich. The only challenge that I personally am facing, and maybe somebody else is doing the same thing, is everywhere else you can show the ROI. When we're talking about security, it becomes such a big black hole. You keep investing and you see the news of breaches and this and that, and you really count your days. I hope it's not me next time.
Exactly.
But that's, I think for all of us, right, the challenge is you have to spend a lot of time. It's a little easier now than, say, 4 years ago when the problem was rampant, but our job is to educate, right, to help cast the light on that, and also to push, because, of course, nobody ever comes to you and says, please spend the money on an insurance policy until the house burns down. Then they say, why didn't you do that? So as a leader, right, you've got to have the courage to stand in there and say, hey, look, you're paying me to make these decisions. Here's why we think this is the right thing. We really need to invest here. And you have to balance that, of course, with maybe your security team that wants, 10 times what you're able to do.
Well, when you don't know, you're not obligated to act. But once you know, you got to act. And so, it would seem to me the ROI discussion would be pretty easy to have. I think Deloitte has a great practice where they'll tell you what the cost of not doing stuff is. And it's pretty, the math around risk management and quantifying risk is pretty mature now.
But let's face it, it's an endless buffet. Yeah. I mean, none of this stuff fits together. And honestly, it's not possible for anyone to do, the quote best practice of all of the things that somebody that gets paid money to draw that picture would ask you to do.
Yeah, but you get sued for negligence, and you got a business for gross negligence. So, I mean, that's a different standard, right?
Right,
so
yeah, of course.
Even you can do all the best things and still be a victim, but
well, I'm
if you
not
don't do
talking
the best
about.
things, you're gonna pay, and you might be out of business.
Yeah, what I'm getting after though is it's not a neat field where the lines are painted. What actually is necessary is complex to really secure your enterprise. And for all of us, I think if you're really in the trenches with it, that you're making these very obtuse decisions or ambiguous decisions between A, B, and C solution. None of them necessarily does everything. All of them purporting to be the most important thing on the horizon. And you've got to make choices. And at the same time, we have 40 different countries where we have people. We sell around the world, pretty much wherever there's a human being. We're saving lives. Of course, the FDA and every other alphabet agency that regulates devices. We're in a different world. I mean, if you don't do documentation, they come and put padlocks on your door and you can't sell anymore. So it is complex. And when you look at security in particular, that space is one where the industry has a lot of maturing to do.
Just add one thing. For us, there is no choice. So for us, security is protecting our brand. And we think of that on multiple different levels. So it's not just about securing the perimeter of your data center or all of those things. It's about compliance. It's about regulatory. It's about risk, disaster recovery and protecting from disasters, protecting client data, protecting our own data, protecting our IP. So it's a lot of different things that we look at from that perspective. And there is no option to do that. We take that very seriously, and we have programs that we put in around that and spend a lot of money and a lot of time in ensuring that we have done all of the things that we need to do to meet those compliance and regulatory things. The worst thing that can happen is we end up on the front page of the Wall Street Journal, like another large bank that was on there today. It's just something you do not want.
Right.
So we absolutely go through every aspect of the whole security program and making sure that we're spending the time, spending the money. We're working with a lot of different companies. We're working with our own people. We're hacking ourselves. We're phishing ourselves. We're making sure we have awareness training. We're teaching our people about security posture and the things that they need to do and be aware of. So it's a very serious approach for us, and one that we don't weigh against an investment or not. It's a totally separate line item, a totally separate budget, and we manage it that way.
How do you budget for security?
We actually take that through the risk community. So we have a risk governance board, and they actually sponsor all of the things around security and risk. So it's totally separate from the IT spend in itself. And that line item is governed, managed, and controlled separately. The IT spend itself, the functions actually say, here's what we want you to buy or build for us, and here's the money to go do it. That's how we judge the actual value that we're providing. And then we take some things, after we tell them what it's going to cost, there is a portion of that cost that we say, this is going to be required to keep the lights and the trains running. But the actual new things that you want us to build and the new services you want us to build, it's going to cost you this much, and this is what you put into the IT budget for us to build.
That's probably the key decision. I mean, if you have this cybersecurity inside of IT, I think you underspend because you got all these other competing demands. If you bump it into a risk management committee, you know, it's going to get the right attention, focus, and the right cover on those decisions. It's really, if you have it in IT, it's hard to be successful, I think.